Good evening. I'm Linda Reed, Superintendent of South Euclid-Lyndhurst School District, and thank you for joining us this evening for our State of the Schools. Before we get started, I want to introduce a few people that are here this evening. We have some board members here from SEL. The importance is when we worked on the strategic plan, we had every one of our board members participate in the 7-month process, so I'm glad to see them here this evening. So we have Board President Lisa Marco, Vice President Cassandra Jones. I think I see Stephanie Ryan back there. David Fry, Councilman David Fry. And I know we have a former board member here. I have not had the opportunity. Ms. Atkinson, are you here? All right. Welcome. What this evening is going to be about, every year we said that we would do a State of the Schools with regards to our progress. And we're going to make sure this works. Hold on. All right. So this evening we're going to talk about 4 different things. We're going to give you an update of year 1 of our implementation of our strategic plan. We're also going to touch a little bit about the state report card. And if you haven't heard about the quality report, it's another measurement with regards to quality education, and there's some hard copies that I brought with me this evening. And last but not least, we're going to have a preview of what we are going to be working on in year 2. A little back up for those people that weren't with us with regards to our strategic plan. When you go through a strategic planning process, you usually develop a new vision, mission, core beliefs, and goals. One of the vision that we talked about is that SEL Schools wants to be the destination school community. It's a 5-year plan. It's really not your typical vision statement for an education institution. Actually, when we came up with the vision plan, it's just there was really a little bit of a negative vibe where surely how could we be the destination? We have so many challenges. We're not where we used to be or where we want to be. And the group that we worked with is, if you don't believe in yourselves, how can you chart the course to where you want to go? So we talk about a destination. We know that families and people have the opportunity to choose where they want to live. Well, we want South Euclid and Lyndhurst to be those communities. We know that they can choose where they want to go to school. We want SEL schools to be their choice. We know that businesses can choose to bring their business to other places. We want to be your destination. We know that education is a journey, but that journey is going to begin in SEL. So that's our vision. So as we unwrap this plan, we talked about all the things that we're going to do to get to the level, the next level that we want to be at. So you look at the core beliefs. We came up with 8 core beliefs. And I'm not a person that reads the slides. They're up there. They're on our website. But it gives you a sense of what we value in SEL schools. The number 1 bullet point actually is high achievement. High expectations leads to high achievement. That was really important to the communities because they felt as the communities in the school district was receiving more challenges that maybe our expectations were being lowered. And that was really important that we keep in the forefront, no matter how many challenges that we have, that if we don't have high expectations, how can we possibly achieve at those high levels? We talk about diversity, that it embraces and enriches our communities. We are a diverse learning community. And what better place to raise a family? As I tell people, we're a slice of America. There's great opportunities here. So again, the core beliefs are important to pay attention to because as we developed our goals, as we developed our action steps, as we work in our daily practices, we keep these core beliefs alive. And my administrators that are out here this evening know, it's not just about a bunch of words that we slap on a poster. We live it. We go back to it. We talk to students and say, students must take ownership of their education. That's one of our core beliefs. So again, it is important that we keep these alive in our schools and in our daily practices. So here are our 4 goals. Before we go into the 4 goals, we talk about the mission statement. Very simple. We empower, we inspire students to be contributing members to a global society. I think it's important to keep in mind about contributing. We want our graduates to be able to give back to their communities no matter where they live. Global society, they're going to be competing. So we got to make sure that the rigor and the opportunities are there for our students so they can compete not just locally, but in a global society. So those are the 4 goals that we're going to go through this evening. I'm going to tell you right now, we're going to spend a significant amount of time on the first goal So if it looks like it's really long and you're saying to myself, oh my goodness, she's just through the first goal, are we ever going to get through this? We are going to spend most of the time on the first goal because that's what we did this school year. So when we go through, again, a little bit of background, again, I see some folks that were with me when we started this process. I was hired in, seems like 10 years ago, let's see, August of 2012. And one of the things we said is that I asked in the interviewing process, well, did we have a strategic plan? Did we have a path of what we wanted to do? And the board looked at me and says, you know what, we have a lot of things going on, but I don't think we have a clear path of where we want to go. And what a strategic plan does is it helps you to stay focused on what you say yes to, what you say no to, where you allocate your funds. And so we started the process in September of 2012. It was a 6 to 7 month process. And that slide alone does not tell you the amount of hours and time that was put into, it's a 35-page document that we have. So again, it was adopted in June of 2013. And what we said was every year we would come back and give a yearly update. Now here it is October, but you know, I talked to the board in June, and you know what June's like, the school year closes down, people are on vacation, and I didn't think it was probably a good time. And then when I thought about having it in September, when everybody got back, we're competing with orientation, we were competing with Meet the Teacher Night and different things. So I think October is a good time when we can come back every year and report on our progress. So the first goal, as you can see, it's two key words that we have up there is is framework and growth. And so you got to remember when you're developing, everything is constantly changing in education. If you think that all of a sudden you got it down and we've adopted things, the state will come out with something new. So as an educational institution, you have to develop a framework that will allow you to continue to keep up with the changes that happen around you. And we have to keep in mind that we're about educating all students. So what have we accomplished? The one thing I want to talk about this evening a little bit, I want you to think of the strategic plan as an umbrella. And all the things that we do, some of the things, how the state report card, the school restructuring, this quality report, they kind of fall underneath that. So I didn't want to talk separately about it because they're not separate topics. So I'm going to kind of embed that in the process as well to talk about some of the impact that we have from those areas. So I want to just explain the first slide to you because it seems like a lot of words. I'm not going to read it to you, but really this is the document. I want people to know we're being very transparent. This is what we said we were going to do. This is what we got done, and this is what we still need to work on. So if you've not been a part of a strategic planning process, they've done many different ways, but the way that we chose to do it was we have goals. Most of the time you have goals, you have strategies and action steps, and then people don't know what the difference between a strategy or an action step. What I do know is people want results. And so one way to approach a strategic plan is have a specific result. So under teaching and learning, I think there's 6 or 7 results we want. So that yellow box up there is actually saying that's the first result we want to happen. Now when you look at these other areas, let me see if I can, there we go, complete and ongoing, in progress, year 2. Remember, it's a 5-year plan. So what we're here tonight is you're going to see complete and ongoing are things that we actually got done in the first year. In progress means we set out during the first year to get this done. We didn't quite get it done. So guess what? We have to put it into year 2. We just can't forget about it. All too often we got these great ideas and then we don't quite get it off the ground and then we forget about it and we're chasing another idea. We're not going to get there until we stay focused on what we want to do. And then of course, you have to keep the plan moving. So what's the logical step? So year 2, these are things that we want to concentrate on. So when it says complete and ongoing, I can tell you we had a heavy focus on looking at our English language arts and our math this year, of really being able to look at those learning targets. And you're going to see a little bit later how that paid off in a positive way for our school district. In progress, we have this thing in education, we talk about research-based practices, max teaching, formula writing. Well, the reason we said that was in progress, when we took a pulse of where that was at, we saw that happening in some buildings and some classrooms. And those are high-yield strategies that are going to get students to achieve at higher levels. I'm not just talking about the state report card. So what we said was, it's not enough that we see in this area, that we really need to put that on the plate for next year. And really, we know these strategies work. We know they're good for students. We have to continue to incorporate them into our district. And of course, since we did so well with English, language arts, and math, I'm going to tell you right now, we need to start to pay attention to science. And that's one of the areas, so we talk about year 2. A year from now, we'll come back here again in October, and let's see how we did. We do have curriculum maps and pacing guides, but we don't have it for everywhere. And we can only do so much at one time, and really the English, language arts, and the math was our focus. So when you go to the second, remember we said the second specific results. This one, we really put a lot of work and energy into it. And the key words on here is really assessments, your STARS, your progress monitoring. And when you see TBT, BLT, and DLT, we like our acronyms. BLT is not bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwich either. It is really has to do with a structure of collaboration. So really, assessment is not just testing. You're going to see in a little bit that we really, the platform we used was STARS, and we have some other local assessments. And you might have heard about the benchmarking. We benchmark the students to see where they are in the fall, the winter, and the spring. And sometimes we throw a fourth benchmark in there. So we can look at data in real time and make decisions. What a state report card does is like a summative assessment. It just says, it tells you how the student performed. But by the time you get that information, those students have already moved on to a new grade level. The information is not current, and you can't make those instructional changes. So the formative assessments that we did really paid off for us this year. The other thing we talked about was ThinkGate was really used for, I believe, science. It really wasn't utilized as much as we thought it would. I think we need to take a look at year 2 to say, if we're really not performing in science like we think we should, we're going to need to have also a platform. How do we measure that? Basically, the only measurement we have now is in 5th grade with the state test, 8th grade, and then 10th grade as well. So we really need to look at, I believe, what other type of benchmark assessments can we have for science.
What is ThinkGate and STARS?
Yes. And actually, we'll definitely answer since the question was asked to clarify so we understand what we're talking about. In the end, too, we will also have the opportunity to ask questions as we go through. The question was, what is ThinkGate and STARS?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Veronica Motley, and I have the pleasure of working with Superintendent Reed as I serve as the Assistant Superintendent for the district. Your question was, what is ThinkGate? ThinkGate is an informational instructional system that is an opportunity that was presented by the Ohio Department of Education. And it's an online platform that allows teachers to not only house lesson plans, it also allows them to generate different forms of assessments and bank those assessments in a way that other colleagues across this district may access them. STARS is another online assessment that we use in grades K through 9, and that is a math assessment and reading assessment. And all of our students participate. And what we do is about 4 times a year, we take the temperature, if you will, of how well a child is reading. But we look at that data in real time and also monitor how well our children are responding to instruction. Are we moving the needle of growth? If we have a child that needs intervention, are we moving them out of that intervention area? If a child is performing at the high end and above grade level, are we also allowing them to grow for 1 year of growth, which is required by law? So those are 2 platforms that we use in our district to help monitor, to make sure children are making growth. So one is also an instructional resource as well for teachers.
Thank you. And really, what I have on the screen now is actually a report from the STARS data. And what you look at is, again, analyzing data in real time to make changes in your instruction that can have a positive impact for those students. But when you look, again, we're going to tie this together because, what do you do with this data? But first, let's take a look at, when you look at the green area, is those students are at or above where they should be at that point in time. When you look at the blue area, I think it's, they're not at risk. The blue area is they are I'm sorry? On watch. Okay, that's a new term. They're on watch. When the yellow area is that intervention is needed, and the red area is that urgent intervention is needed as well. So keep in mind when you look at that again, because there's some students that are way beyond, way above where they should be, and we need to continue to challenge those students. But on the other side, we have some students that need actually more intense intervention before they can even make the same progress. So that was the student piece. We talked about those reports. What's equally important, and again, this goes back to DLT stands for District Leadership Team. I'm a part of that team, as well as Dr. Motley, our building principals, and teacher leaders. Then you have building leadership teams. We have 6 school buildings. And then you have what you call your teacher-based teams. It's important that if you collect this data, that you need the opportunity to, for professionals to get together and collaborate and make decisions on changes. But you also have to remember this is a reciprocal relationship, because you can't have one building working one way and another building. We have 3 K-3 buildings. And if we're not communicating, if the district is not setting the benchmarks, if that's not being communicated at the building level by the building leadership teams, that we're not going to be able to stay, when I say on pace or together. Because all those K-3 students, 3rd grade students, then now go to Greenview in 4th grade. And we want to make sure that there is a structure of communication. This is actually part of the Ohio improvement process, and it's a structure for continuous improvement. It's not a structure where schools that are failing or in trouble, actually high-performing schools and schools that are really struggling have found that this structure of collaboration of adults is something that helps that continuous improvement process working. And remember, our goal, number 1, is to have a framework for continuous growth. That includes looking at for students and the adult behaviors as well. So what does that look like? Well, we talk about the school redesign. My administrators know I have this saying that Albert Einstein says the definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over and get different results. If we know the world around us has changed, if we know the challenges for our students has changed, we know that we've increased the rigor, then we need to approach that how we do our work. So one of the things we were looking at, if you look at the first bullet point, is really opportunity to learn, making sure that if you are in 3rd grade, at least that we know that 120 minutes a day are devoted to English language arts. If it's in math, it's at least 100. And again, these aren't exact times, but we have to make sure that, I might be a teacher that is really strong in this area, and I like spending all this time here, but however, we have to make sure that all of our students have the same opportunity to learn. So what the school day did was give us a chance to really align our approach to teaching certain content areas. Again, an intervention and enrichment period. Go back to that slide about analyzing data. You saw green, you saw blue, you saw yellow. So you can collect all this data, but unless you have an opportunity to have students, when you need intervention, it's intense intervention, you need a totally different treatment than somebody that is actually way above. So what happens is if you're a teacher and you have students on all different levels, what happens is we tend to gravitate to the student that may need more intervention and forgetting about the time of the student to continue to challenge that student. So what school districts have done is, say there's 7 3rd grade classrooms and there's that IE period. You still get your core instruction, but you know that you have students that now, I'm Mrs. Reed and I'm going to take students from other classrooms and I'm going to take those students that need that intense intervention. But I have 5 students that are way beyond what I can do. And they go to Dr. Motley's class, and she's going to give them instruction on a high level. And so what that does is continues to meet the children where they're at. So again, it wasn't enough to have a platform of collecting data. We needed to restructure our day to be able to do things. And I'm going to tell you right now, we're in our infancy of doing it. We're just developing these IE periods. But if we don't have a structure, we'll never have the opportunity to help students grow at the pace that they need to. And again, that collaboration time, if we don't, our teachers have a time for common collaboration. So again, I was a 3rd grade teacher at one point in my career. Usually, when you have that plan period and you go back to your classroom, you're playing alone. We know today there's much more value than all those teachers getting together and looking at not only classroom data, looking at curriculum, and really collective wisdom of making decisions. And so that's something that we've built into our new day. So again, one of the things that gave us the opportunity, the teachers have a longer work day which also gave us the opportunity to really extend the student day to include an IE period, to expand the amount of minutes that we want to dedicate towards the math and science. And again, these are some of the things that change. You know, you talk about the third grade guarantee. How did we respond to that? And we are responding by restructuring our school day to be able to take care of those changes. At the high school level, you talk about college and career readiness. We're talking about, you know, having more advisor-advisee groups. And we're going to talk a little bit later about how we're going to be approaching that. So when you look at this right now, you're seeing, I think it's Memorial Junior High. This is one of our IE periods. You can tell that the first quarter of school, they actually concentrate on college and career readiness because they didn't do their first benchmark. But what I'll do is they've completed the first benchmark, they'll look where the students fall, and now they're working on really, I don't want to say customized, but developing lessons that will meet the students where they're at. Continue to challenge those students that need enrichment, and then also provide different levels of intervention. Remember that blue group and that yellow group? They might not need as intense of an intervention as children that have fell into the red area of considering urgency. So this is a snapshot. So now let's look at the state report card. There are some highlights. Keep in mind that we really concentrated on the reading first and foremost, and the math. When you look here, our 7th grade, I'm going to get back to that later, they had double-digit gains in 7th grade. I believe last year's was about 59% passage rate, and this year they were at 75%. That is a huge gain. But it really didn't make a change on the state report card, because in order to get that indicator, you had to have, well, if it was last year, it was only 75%. The state said, nah, 75, now we're making it 80. And I'm not against increasing that, but it really doesn't tell the story of going from 59% to 75%, because they only made 75%. They did not get that indicator for it. So again, we look at the growth, because if we continue to do the right things, we're going to continue to grow in the right area. You can see the scores. I mean, you talk about 8th grade, and it has been a long time since they've gotten 90%. And look at the second to last bullet point. We did improve on 14 of 17 indicators. Didn't quite make the indicators call all or nothing. If they say 80%, you can have 79.9% pass, and you get this for it. You don't make that indicator. So we'll get there, but we have to really focus on the improvement and having this framework for growth. Now, the last bullet point, 90.3% third grade guarantee, very important. We know that we have this window of time, and you know, by the time you're age 8, and not that you can't learn to read later, it becomes more and more difficult to be able to close that gap. So we are really focusing on our K-3 literacy. This was not a part of the state report card, but we did receive a B on it, which means we did very well at our structure that we have in place, and we hope to duplicate that in the upcoming school year. So what I tried to do is, okay, so let's look at reading across the board. And our school district has a little bit over 50% on students from poverty, free and reduced lunch. And a lot of times, many times, the literacy, the reading piece is lacking. This is why we're approaching it first. Reading, no matter where, what area you're from, is very important. You learn to read, and then you read to learn. So it's very important that we focus on that. So you can see we did quite well in that area, and we're going to continue to focus on that. 5th grade always tends to be a dip across the state, no matter what school district. There is usually a big gap. I'd like to see that a little bit higher. We'll continue to look at that. But we actually did very well in the reading there. So my question is, so why not are we doing better in science? If we have students that are reading well, our science scores really don't reflect what they should be. And that's something we really need to look at. So I'm not going to stand up here and say, you know, everything's fine. If we have students that know that we can read, then we need to look at either we're not aligning our curriculum, or we're not going into higher level thinking skills. There's a report out, if we just improve in our writing, we'll naturally improve in science. So those are some things that we have to look at. Our science scores definitely need to be better. So math is always lagging in the United States. That's not an excuse. We're doing better. I think we certainly want to duplicate what we've done with our STARS data and our IE periods and our TBTs, and now really focus on setting those learning targets in math, or taking a closer look in math, because I really believe that we can do better. It's an improvement, as you can tell. But when you look at 7th grade, remember I said 7th grade went from 59% to 75. Well, take that same cohort. Last year that cohort was in 7th grade and they were at 59. And if you look at it a different way, that same cohort of students did improve with, in a different grade level. So these are different things that we're looking at as well. So now you look at 21st century skills. That's another specific result that we have completed. I tell you what, we do a great job in SEL with career days and a lot of activities. What I'd like to see, we're going to continue to do that, but what I'd like to see is we really start having a focus on technology and really embedding technology into the teaching and learning process. And the last bullet point, then we talk about 21st century, we talk about critical thinking, creativity, communication, and collaboration. One of our core beliefs is that we're going to educate the whole child, the social, emotional. One of the things we're going to be changing, we redesigned the school day, we're taking a good look at our guidance program. This is not about our guidance counselors, this is about our guidance program. My brother was a guidance counselor for 15 years, and people really underestimate what possibly can 4 guidance counselors do, what possibly can a guidance counselor do in the building. Well, a lot more than just scheduling. And one of the things that we're going to be adopting is the Ohio School Counselors, the American School Counselors model. And Melissa Thompson, our Director of People Services, is really going to be working with the guidance counselor, because it's a lot more. I mean, there's different themes. There's advocacy, there's systematic change, there's leadership, and there's different themes that really a guidance department is supposed to do. And that's one area that we really haven't paid attention to here in SEL, and we actually need to. So that will be a year from now. I'd like to report how we've developed our guidance program and how your children have benefited from it. The other piece is, here's the adult piece. It's really important. As change happens around us, a lot has changed since I began my career many, many years ago. It used to be a turn-the-page curriculum. I got my books, I did my lesson planning, I went to my room. Now we're talking about looking at data in real time, infusing technology, different types of assessments. And really we have to make sure that we give our adults the opportunity to learn and stay up with things. So what we did this year, what we completed is we did a survey. Where do you think you're at? Where are we at? The in progress means that we started this part, and that's the max teaching and some of those high yield strategies. In some areas of our school districts, we're doing it very well. In other areas, it's non-existent. And what we've done is utilizing 2 of our teachers now as instructional coaches. We're first concentrating on the 7-12 and making sure that we have alignment with regards to how we approach teaching writing and how we approach certain math areas. And so we are using some of our own teachers. We're not sending them out to workshops and things like that, but we're doing job-embedded professional development as well. Again, we want to understand technology. The other thing that we're doing is we have a technology integration specialist. I don't know how many of you know Mr. Teeter. He is a science teacher at the high school. He's still teaching science. He has utilized technology in the teaching and learning process very well. So what we've tried to do is, people aren't comfortable with technology. They go out, they learn it. At a workshop, they come back, they don't have an opportunity. They forget 3 weeks later, and then it's lost. And so one of the things that we're doing is utilizing somebody that they're comfortable and familiar with, a teacher who's been in this district for a long time, and we're going into classrooms and really showing them how to utilize their technology to actually maximize the way they're using their technology. So again, when you look at this, we did also 2 things. We wanted to do a survey for our teachers, and then we also want to know, well, what kind of technology do we have in our district? We have 2,400 computers, we have 32 technology labs, we have 11 mobile labs, we have 200 smart boards, and that doesn't count the clickers and response systems. What we want to make sure is you can have the hardware, But if you aren't utilizing it, if you're using a smart board just to project something on it and not really utilizing it, it's not getting, the students aren't getting the impact that they can have. So we definitely want to, I mean, as part of our plan, we're also exploring the one-on-one. So right now, here's what we've completed a survey. We're trying to actually maximize the technology we currently have, because before we bring in more technology, we are going to be looking at a one-to-one, but they're not ready yet. So this is what we're going to look at with regards to the upcoming school year, is maximizing the technology we already have. So again, in the teaching and learning process, we talked about the strategic plan, some of the stuff on the state report card, things that we focused on. And the quality report is another measurement. So again, think of, if we focus in our strategic plan, we do the right things. We don't just focus on the state report card, but we focus on the right things, the rigor, that those things will fall into place. Now the quality report, actually I'm going to give you a real quick history lesson here. 2 years ago, there were 10 school districts in the Cincinnati area that said, you know what, the state report card doesn't nearly tell our communities all the good things and quality opportunities our students have. And these were affluent school districts: Mason, Indian Hills, I think Stony Brook, all very, very affluent school districts. And there's a lot of things in the state report card does not measure that is of quality. And so what they did was, after the first year, they asked, were there any school districts in Cuyahoga County that were interested in doing a quality report? And I was one of several school districts that said, yes, I'd like to be a part of it. And some of the guidelines, just so you know, because we'll do one every year, and I just want to explain the guidelines, is there were 7 parts to it. You would have to do an executive summary, you would do an academic section, an arts section, student leadership, I think parent and community, student services, and I don't know, and fiscal stewardship. One of the things they said too, and we only want you to keep it to 1 page because people aren't going to read for 25 pages. Well, I kind of deviated, and I have 2 pages for academics because I couldn't quite choose what I was going to delete. So we did participate. We have hard copies. You can also see it online through our through our website as well. So one of the things they talk about, and again, not everything that counts can be counted, and not everything that can be counted counts. If you look at the arts, there are many great things and opportunities in SEL with the arts, as well as other school districts, but that's not even nearly anything in the state report card that measures that. I speak from my own personal experience. I've raised 3 children, put them through college. I know some of you have heard this before, but it's important because I helped them fill out their application. When we did it, it wasn't just about what year. They never asked what their OGT scores were. They asked what their ACT or SAT scores were. When my daughter got into Ohio State, she was competing against international students. There was 2 essays that she had to write, so writing is an important skill. All 3 of my children, Kent State, Mount Union, and The Ohio State, when I looked at their application, they asked, what was your courses, what does your senior year look like, what was the rigor? They also know what leadership, what other opportunities did you have, and again, that's why it's important that we don't lose sight that we have to still keep our eye on other means of quality other than the state report card. So this quality profile is something that we see as growing. If you haven't read it, I hope that you go. It's 10 pages, and I'm not going to talk about it all today, but again, when you look at this, we do offer high-level courses. The class of 2014, $7 million in scholarship. And when you get scholarships offered to you, that means you've done something very well, either academically. I know that we had a performing arts students at Excel Tech that got a huge scholarship for performing arts, not because of something on the state report card. So we have to make sure that we continue to put our resources in other areas as well. So we actually have a class of 2014 are attending a lot of good institutions locally and nationally. And one of the things, if I have any elementary parents here, and you might not be aware of it, we have access to Excel Tech, which has 21 different technical education programs. And remember, our goal is to have every student career bound. Many of these students are actually going to go on to college. It used to be the day when I went to school, it was college track or you went to the vocational track. That is not what Excel Tech is about. I can't even list all, there's 21 of them there. It is a great opportunity that some of our families don't even know that our students have. I've listed some of the awards, and I picked these 3 because we have many students that are in these programs, medical technologies, business academies, and early childhood. So again, looking for those opportunities for whatever career that they choose, there's a lot here in SEL that a lot of families don't even know that exists. So one of my goals was also to get that word out. If you go to Brush High School, it seems natural. But if you're just entering and you're in kindergarten or you're in 4th grade and not know the opportunity that still awaits you as you move through our district, you know, we need to tell that. And it's, again, if you access the full report, you can see all the 21 different areas as well. Again, you know, 422 high school credits were offered at Memorial Junior High. Now, mind you, that might be one student who took 3 classes, but the bottom line is, if your child needs to be challenged or is accelerated, there is that opportunity that we have here. The Gifted program is a program that is actually being restructured. Remember, I said I would tell you what we're doing well and other things that we need to do better. The Gifted program is one that we need to do it differently. It's not meeting all of our students' needs. I know Dr. Motley has had a meeting several weeks ago and talked about it. If you want more specifics of how we're restructuring, feel free to contact her office, but we're really looking at changing that this school year. So I'd like to report a year from now what progress that we've made as well. So again, the student leadership is another part of that quality report, and you can see the first bullet point, actually, we have 150 school-sponsored district clubs or activities. 150. I remember going back to those opportunities, anything from robotics to environmental to debate. It starts in kindergarten through grade 12. There is a great opportunity. As I look at my treasurer, I know he's got his hand like this. That's a lot of clubs to keep track of. But it is actually something we should boast about, because there's a lot of school districts that don't have that much. And we do it, you know, again, speaking skills and writing skills are important. We give our students that opportunity. These are things that are, again, not measured on the state report card that's important for our students to even get recognized for. And you know, sometimes a C does not tell you all the stuff that really happens, because that C is not measuring all the other quality things that are going on in a school district. The arts, again, if you look here, we have a great arts program. Art and music, you name it. You talk about starting orchestra. I think they audition or are interested in 4th grade and they're able to start it in 5th grade. That's not the case everywhere. I know when I came here 2 years ago, it was loud and clear that the communities of South Euclid and Lyndhurst really value the arts. So we need to continue, even though it's not measured on the state report card, we need to continue to give our students the best opportunities in the arts as well as the academics. So remember I said, don't worry. Boy, she took a long time on that first goal. We've got 3 more goals to go. It's not weighted that way. We were going to spend a lot of time this year on the academics. This is actually, I call it the fun goal a little bit. One of the things they wanted us to do is, when I came into SEL, felt that we really weren't communicating very well with the communities, internal communications. We had a stagnant website that had stuff posted from 3 years ago. One of the things that we did was we accomplished a lot here. And you can see even from the logo here, we've changed things. When I came in, students said, you know what, Superintendent Reed, can we change our colors to black and gold? The brown and gold just isn't working for us. And what's an ARC? And I think 1 year later, if you can see, they know what an ARC is. They're even redesigning things. We did go with a little deeper brown. The dark brown is like the new black. They seem to like that better. In the gold, and so we went away from because I would see Varsity Jackson and different things, and everybody had all different stuff, and we had gray, we had black, and really, if you want to build pride, then where do you start it? We also started it at the elementary level. I mean, there used to be Gators and Mustangs, and then all of a sudden I'm an ARC, and they didn't quite understand that. I know the parents are thanking me, because if it says go ARCs, it doesn't matter. You can keep wearing that shirt even if you go from Greenview to Memorial. So we are really, we're all ARCs. We're very proud of the fact. I was a Bulldog in my last district, and that was wonderful and great, but there were probably 7 or 8 other districts that were Bulldogs, Wildcats. There's only one ARCs, and that's us. And that's how you build the pride. So we spent a lot of time in this area. And again, you can see some of the rebranding that we've had. And again, also the taglines. So you talk about feel the power of our pride, feel the power of an SEL education, what it can do. And it's really starting to catch on. I loved it at the homecoming game. Channel 8 was there for a different reason, but she came up to me and said, I go to a lot of school districts. You guys have the best spirit wear. So we're really, and I thought about bringing some tonight, but I didn't want to overdo it, but we actually do a lot with rebranding ourselves, and it's really taking hold. So you talk about, again, this is still the first result. You'll see that we want more visual flair. We redid Corb Field, looks really good. We have work to do. Welser Gym needs work. The baseball field at Greenview needs work. I know that we've put some signage on the outside of Welser Gym. It looks really great. I know Mr. Holland over at Greenview said, hey, we'd really like to have some signage of that as well. So what we want to do is we're going to now extend that to other areas of the school districts. We started at the high school, and we haven't forgotten that we are going to go to the other areas. We also talked about they've been wanting a pep band for a long time. We're going to make it happen. It's nothing great when you're at a basketball game, and you got a rally going, and you got a pep band going, and it really gets people excited. We're talking about boys' games and girls' games. Now you can't do for every sport. I was a track runner. Pep band just doesn't quite work at a track meet. So it's not that we don't care about those other sports. There's just certain sports that you can kind of do it. Wrestling match, my husband was a wrestler. It's not really where you want to do it because it's one-on-one, and sometimes it's not pretty. So there's certain sports that just really breed that. So we're going to make it happen. Again, they wanted us to communicate better. We last year we put out, I think we averaged 30 website stories a month. And I have to give kudos to the teachers and the principals. We couldn't put them up fast enough. And I hope we continue that because we have people going to the website more, and we changed our look on our newsletters. We have a lot of citizens who don't have children in the school have really loved and looked forward to our newsletter. I always have something a message. The board has a message. The treasurer does, and we highlight different things. And we've gotten very good positive feedback on that format. Now we also do AVTV, and I have to acknowledge the young men here tonight and women. These are our students that help work and put on these productions. They're taping this evening. I'm going to tell a real quick story. I'm an educator. I am not a news person. So I would go there, and there's a teleprompter. So I'd do these SEL on a flash. Well, it never took a flash because it took me 6 tries to get it right, but it was this big. I couldn't see it. Finally, after 6 tries, we got it done. I think Mr. Bubdown, his wisdom, says, I'm going to fix that. The next time I came in to do it, he brought in a 40-inch monitor television. And it was one take because I could see all the words. So we actually have a lot of fun doing it as well. So what we'd like to do is actually, now that we think the website is looking better, it's nicer, now we need to know functionality. Can we find things easier? Deb Betts, my assistant, we're going to be looking for parent input on really functionally making it better. Visually, we think we've accomplished that, but we want to also make sure that it's user-friendly. The next one is actually really an online database. The emergency card system, we're trying to move into the 21st century. Again, raising 3 children, every year I had to fill out that pink or red emergency card. Every year it was the same dentist, it was the same doctor, and put it in. We actually tried a system where we input it. We do have a backup, but be able to really have an online emergency system that we don't have to keep repeating information. We do have an alumni association. One of the things I like to do is I've noticed that very dedicated alumni association, but we don't have a good database for what I call recent graduates. So I'd like to see the 90s and the 2000s, and we really need to, I'd like to work with the alumni association and really expand the database that we have with our alumni. So that will be next year as well, and our business partnerships. So again, one of the things that they wanted to see was having some communications on hand. You see over here you see our newsletter. Every building now has a building profile. You can go to the website and click on it. When I go to see realtors, I bring these profiles with me. We were missing 2 of them. We did not have anything from ARC Learning Academy that we just completed, and actually Excel Tech. So we just went and interviewed some folks out at Excel Tech, and what we're going to be doing is updating these profiles and have them on hand. Many times I'm at a Lyndhurst Council coffee, or I'm in South Euclid, is being able to have some information. I was at a Realtors Fair in May, and there were 100 realtors there. And what I did was put a package together, because when they have open houses and they ask folks, what about the SEL schools? I want to make sure they have the right information. So we are creating, and they loved it, because now they have a chance to talk about, they didn't know a lot about Excel Tech. They didn't know about we could offer orchestra in 5th grade and different things. So I'm going to continue to update that information and work with our business partners on giving them the correct information. Again, one of the things we do, as said, was meaningful partnerships. We do work very closely with our security, safety and security forces. I meet once a month, along with some other administrators, with the police chiefs of South Euclid and Lyndhurst, the fire chiefs. We have some training coming up next week, some ALICE training. We're training ourselves first before I can make any decisions about what type of training that the district needs. I want to partake in it myself to see what exactly is suited for our district. So we are being trained next week as well. One of the other things we want to do is build our business partnerships. And not just sponsorships to give us money, but partnerships, a reciprocal relationship. We started off with, if you've seen the new scoreboard, in our first year we received about $40,000 in sponsorships to be help pay for that scoreboard. So if you've not been to a football game, we have Arc Alley. I think at the last game there was free ice cream at elementary night. So we're really building up that partnership as we go. I do work with Mike Murphy on that, and we look for next year to have even more partnerships that we can talk about. The other thing is community, and again, one of the things that they wanted to see as a strategic plan is having our students out in the community more. So we didn't focus on that the first year at all. I know Greenview is the only school that has an ambassadors club. So what we want to do in year 2, if Greenview has it, that is something that we want to be able to have in all of our buildings and different things. So that's why it says new for year 2. You know, this is a 35-page document. This has all hundreds of action steps. We wanted to take care of some things first, and now we're moving on to other areas of our strategic plan. Actually, I'm going to go back to this one real quick. This last one here is when you talk about, actually, Mr. Williamson, I haven't talked to you about this first yet, but it works very well. I'd like to have our students, we have a student congress, and let them, sometimes make reports at the city council meetings. They tell a better story of what's going on in their lives in SEL than we do. I know that our board members are very diligent about attending both the Lyndhurst and South Euclid city councils, and I think our students participating as well. Occasionally, in my last district, they actually let one of our members sit on council and see how it was run. I don't know if that's something that has a comfort level, but it depends. But we want to get our students more involved in civic opportunities. The last one, again, is you talk about the transition piece. Now, it says complete and ongoing because we need to do transitions every year. One of the big things that came out in the strategic plan was everybody had a comfort level when they were in their K-3 buildings, and then that transition into 4th grade was a little scary. And so we wanted to make sure that we had opportunities to do that. And then they were at Greenview for 3 years, and now they were going on to Memorial. I'll be honest with you, transitions are a key thing. Many times, 9th grade is one of the toughest grades for students to transition to. We do activities, but what I think we really need to do is actually we probably need to do a little bit of a better job of not just having an activity, how do we prepare them? If you've been in one building for 4 years, and then the expectations, whether it is for homework, whether it is for behaviors, and then all of a sudden you go into another building, another grade level, and there's a disconnect, and I think there is sometimes. We need, other than just an activity, we need to have an ongoing communication so that transition is a lot smoother. That is an area I think we need to do a better job on, and that's what we'll be focusing on in year 2. You gotta remember, students, they change. their hormones, and they go through different changes, and so they're trying to understand the changes they're going through, and they might react differently. I remember my daughter was more emotional one year, and I said, "What happened to you?" She went from 5th to 6th grade, and I barely recognized her. So there's a lot of things that we have to take into account other than just an activity to transition into a new grade level. Parent community, again, spoke to PTA Council last night. We're looking to increase the membership for PTA, so if you haven't joined, I usually join all 5 of them. I've only joined 2 so far, so I got to get 3 more, I should say 4 more down as well. But again, parents and community involvement, this is part of the quality profile. It's important that parents are involved, not just for fundraising, but it's also important that we involve them in the decision-making process of their child's education. Hence why I think the guidance department and different things that we can do to expand that. The one thing we did do was give out 6,000 brown and gold cards to our senior citizens. They get to come into any of our activities for free. It's our way of giving back to the community and their support to say thank you. And I have to tell you what, they love the idea. They get a chance to see our students. Our students get a chance to perform for community members, and we're going to continue. And again, these were ideas that, the reason I'm sharing with you, because they're ideas that came out of the strategic planning process. They weren't all my ideas. They were ideas of the community, and I want the community to know that we are actually acting on those ideas and making them a reality as well. This goal here, what have we accomplished? Spent a lot of time on teaching and learning. I think we spent a lot of time on rebranding and our communications, and we're going to continue to do that. I'm going to be honest with you, this area, when we came together, we were a little light. We really didn't do and accomplish many of the things that we thought we would. We did accomplish something, so this is going to be a focus. This gives us a focus in the upcoming school year of some of the things that we need to look at. Well, again, now here's one thing I was going to show you here that is actually is a mistake, and we've read this over. See the South Euclid Lyndhurst. One of the things that came out of the strategic planning process is that if we're trying to bring 2 cities together, why do we separate them with a hyphen? So you're going to see on all the other ones, like down here, the hyphen is gone, it's missing. We're one district, 2 communities, but we're one district that come together for a common cause. So that was one of the things that came out of the strategic plan, and if you'll see on some of the other stuff, we obviously missed it there. So we actually are, we have a tool called Aspirations. It gives us feedback of having those sensitive conversations, our building principals, get that feedback. I think this is an area, again, that we work with our building staff of how do we cultivate those sensitive conversations in addressing certain areas of our diverse learning community. So we have also, one of the important parts was providing a safe and nurturing environment for our students. We've done crisis prevention. We're going to continue to train our staff. I think we have approximately, Ms. Mose, about 15 to 16% of our students are students with disabilities, about a wide range of students. And we have to make sure that we train ourselves to meet the needs of those students as well. My background is both in elementary education and special education, and it's important that we continue to train our staff to be able to meet the needs of the students with disabilities and without disabilities. So again, you see in year 2 here, whoops, let me go back real quick. Year 2 is really focusing on this American School Counselors model. Really looking at a framework of how to utilize our guidance counselors, not just differently, but to expand their roles. Because right now we're actually probably using them in what I call one lane. And a lot of it is, scheduling and sometimes, getting back to parents, but not really developing programs and meeting it. So we're gonna look at that a little bit different. We do have some social workers. We actually have changed that. We used to have one social worker who I see here this evening. It was located at one of the school elementary buildings, or several of the elementary buildings, and then one at the high school. We've actually relocated them at Southland, which is now where ARC Learning Academy is. And because we're working with families, and really those needs just don't happen in one building, they happen, we have students in multiple buildings from a single family that may need assistance. So we are restructuring how we do that. Again, they want us to have a welcoming community. We do welcome our new staff. The high school I know has a new breakfast. The thing about when you've been in a school district for 12 years, you're thinking, well, why is this important? They've been here for so long. We also have a high mobility rate. So we have a lot of students who might be here for 2 years and have gone to another school district and actually come back, or have actually been in 3 school districts and they're now in 5th grade. And so they need to feel that, and they need to feel welcome. So we really have to be deliberate. It may not have been something that your life has been affected by, but some of our students have moved several times by life circumstances, and we have to make sure we make it the best, and they have to feel welcome. So that's one thing that is also a focus as well. We're getting there. This one here was really big on the topic, and I put it up there because I don't want anybody to think that I forgot about it. When we went through the strategic planning process, they felt, okay, boy, some of these students' behaviors, we really need to have a reflection room. And we didn't move on that the first year because there were a lot of unanswered questions, like who would be for? We don't want isolation. We don't want to, isolate student, and what would that be? So, we're going to take a look at our data and really look at, is there a need for it? If not a reflection room, is there a need for a quiet time? And so we didn't do anything, but we are looking to see, if you wonder what happened to that idea, it didn't go away. We're going to collect some data and see if there is a need for it in the future. Again, we want to work with our community partners, and this all is going to go around the idea of really developing our guidance programs, our advisor-advisee programs, and expanding them more in the upcoming school year. I'm going to try to get through. And believe it or not, this last one is very short, but definitely important. When you look at, these are the areas for our facilities that we concentrated on. We looked at our athletic fields, looking at some of our classrooms, looked at creative ways to save money, and what we did, I'll show you a few of them as they pop up. Number one, we actually did a new phone system. Our old phone system was 13 years old, and you might say, well, why is that? That's not really exciting, but it's not just new phone systems. If we want to bring more technology to our district, we were afraid we didn't have the bandwidth to be able to, our IT site plus us have the bandwidth to be able to bring in more technology, so we had to have a new phone system. Plus, in the spring, it was dropping calls left and right. I'd be on the phone with the parent, and I would have to say, you know what, if the phone disconnects, don't think I hung up on you. And it was that bad. It was getting really old, so we had to upgrade our phone system. We wanted our buildings to have curbside appeal, and I know Mr. Stearns and his department has done a really good job. Many of our community members never make it into the schools, and we want to make sure that that we do our part and we have curbside appeal. They look neat, and really making our buildings look nice. Our signs are a little old. That's not something that's something we have to look at. They are looking a little old and aging. We're going to have to look at some of our school signs. That is a part of the strategic plan, and really see. I know people want a flashy sign, but I have to work with the city because depending on where our school is, I can't just put a sign that has lights because of zoning and that. But we are looking at upgrading our signs as well. Really excited at Memorial, the science lab. Remember we set a focus on science. It actually was not a part of the strategic plan, but when I looked at the science labs at Memorial High, Junior High, there was no way that the students could do inquiry-based learning. They were too small. We didn't have the right equipment. You're going to see a picture in a moment that we redid the science lab at Memorial. Mrs. Ortiz went at 4. We only could do 2 this year, 1 for 7th, 1 for 8th grade, so stay tuned. We are going to keep expanding. We have science labs in Greenview, Memorial, and the high school, and stay tuned for what we have in store for K-3. So we're really excited about the science labs. The synergistics, if you haven't heard, again, that's one of the things of saving money. It's the behavior piece behind energy conservation. We know that we have old buildings, but at the same time, even if we replace things, we got to make sure the behaviors of the folks that work here can save money. I've utilized it in my last district. I know Dana, Mr. Stearns utilized it in his, Mr. Pollack, 3 different school districts, and I know we save significant money just on changing the behaviors of our employees. So stay tuned. This year we have the program. Next year I want to come back and maybe show of what we've been able to actually save as part of this program. So what we're looking at, there's the science lab up here. right now at Memorial. What I want to see now is actually in each one of our three buildings have a dedicated science lab as well, and that is on the books to have for next school year. Again, and integrating math and science, because you can't take those two apart, but we're really looking at it. And classroom teachers will still teach science, but when you talk about hands-on, they really need a dedicated space to have that type of learning. So we're really excited because my goal is to really have it K-12. And so next year, hope to be standing here showing off some new science labs at the elementary buildings. And again, you can read, we're looking, you know, wellness and fitness is dear to my heart. You talk about it's important. We have some ideas that we haven't quite rolled out yet, but really paying attention to, there you go again, the whole child, making sure and really utilizing our space here in SEL a little bit differently. So those are some of the things that we're going to be looking on in year 2 of the facilities. And this is not a part of the strategic plan. It's very difficult to put a part of the strategic plan. This is part of the quality report. And just want to highlight, when I came here in 2012, one of the things my treasurer told me, well, lo and behold, guess what? We have to put a levy on the ballot. I had a very short time and very appreciative that the communities of South Euclid and Leonard passed it on the first try by 1,500 votes. What that told me is that these were communities that really are committed to quality education. And what that does for me is making sure that we spend every bit of those dollars wisely and really spend it in the manner that we need to for our students. So we're halfway through the cycle, and we're a little bit ahead of where we should be. We will not be on the ballot before 2016. I'm pushing for 2017. And they think I'm crazy because I really want 2018, but I can't promise that right now. It's a little too far down the road. So we've stretched it already, and we're going to continue to stretch those dollars. Again, the second and third bullet point are ways that we're going to do that. We're looking to save monies. Every dollar saved through energy conservation is a dollar back in the classroom. So I'm really excited to see that a year from now, if we can report on exactly how much we've been able to save within the first year. And again, the other way is looking at alternative funding. So when you see grants, these are non-general fund dollars, non-taxpayers' dollars. So we try to look for other ways to do the things and do our work without taking it from the general fund or the taxpayers. So these are some of the things that we have with our fiscal stewardship. And again, this is a part of the quality report if you want to read about it more. And we're at the end there, try to move it along. I know we had a question earlier, and what I want to close with is, again, this was year 1 of the strategic plan. All those things that you saw up there weren't things that we created. It was actually part of all the action groups that we had. In some areas we overplanned, and in other areas I think we underplanned. So again, year 2 will really be carrying that baton to year 2 to continue the work that didn't get done this year. There's also things that we have to know that come about that may not be a part of the strategic plan, but important to do. So you got to remember, strategic plan is a working document. You know, there's things that we're going to have to edit. The science labs at Memorial were not a part of the strategic plan, but I saw an immediate need. Now we're getting to the K-3 buildings. And so there are things that we're going to change. It's a 5-year plan. If we get done with a goal in 2.5 years, 3 years, we're going to have to come back together and add more things to it. So again, keep that in mind. Next year, we'll be standing here again. We'll be looking at the plan, see what we got done, and we'll continue to do that. It's Destination 2018. So with that being said, this concludes the State of the Schools. And if you have any questions, we do have some mics, or you can just ask a question from your seat. And other than that, I thank you for your time this evening.
What about the Common Core? I know Ohio is trying to get rid of that. So is that being implemented right now, and we kind of see what's happening?
Yeah, good question. I think that's, Dr. Motley has worked very diligently with our staff over the last several years. So I'm going to allow her to address that with you.
Thank you. We were privileged to receive a Reach to the Top grant about 5 years ago. We're entering to our 5th year, where we actually started the work transitioning to the Common Core. We have adopted the Common Core in reading and writing, math, and social studies. Although social studies are really the Ohio New Learning Standards, they're adopted statewide, locally, because we're allowed to tweak them based on where we're located in the nation. Right now, we are working on adopting, with the recommendation of ODE, the Ohio Department of Education, the science standards, because they have been slow to adopt the national science standards. We've done a lot of work and a lot of preparation. My colleague Karen Valenza has worked with teachers across all grade levels, developing curriculum, assessments, revising assessments, common assessments, unit development, identifying new resources that support the Common Core. And although it is a debate about 200 miles south right now and in other states, I see until we hear something in a different direction, we're moving forward with the work and the time and the energy and the money. Even though it was grant dollars, we're moving forward. I don't think anybody can argue higher expectations for kids when it comes to learning. I think more controversial associated with the Common Core are the assessments that they've tied to the Common Core. I think my colleagues, not only here in SEL, but in Ohio, with state, we're all about raising the level of rigor so our kids are better prepared and able to compete with students from around the world. However, again, looking at what the state is looking to do, we are in a flux of change, and we've kind of become accustomed to ODE kind of poking their finger around a little bit. But we're going to continue to move forward. We're going to implement the work we've done to align ourselves with the Common Core in reading, math. We're looking at social studies and science as well. So we're going to continue to move forward in that direction.
Any other questions? Well, thank you and have a good evening.